Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Premier Corner, a live show for English learner about the Premier League, brought to you by Teachers Denek, that's me, and of course my guests. And today is none other than Clive. Clive, welcome back on the show.
Thank you, and it's great to be back. It's been a while since I've done one of these, Anik, so
Yeah,
got plenty to talk about.
good to have you back. And I think you chose a wonderful occasion, of course, because as we
Of
know, and
course,
it's in the
yeah. I
title,
mean,
of the video, a hammer blow for Chelsea.
yeah, and the fact that we're coming into this season on the back of such a successful season in the Europa Conference League, having won that and lifted the trophy. We're coming into this season on a bit of a high. We've lost Declan Rice to Arsenal, as you well know. Not our choice, but we're going to carry on without him, and we just march on towards the uh, next task,
Stay
the next test for us. Yeah,
next test at hand.
that's it.
Okay,
Mm.
fantastic. So obviously, this is your YouTube channel. Um, are you still
Yeah.
active there, or I haven't noticed anything
I haven't.
recently?
No, I haven't done a lot this year. Done one or two interviews, but that's what I'm mainly going to be concentrating on is interviewing people that are football fans, West Ham fans in particular, but football fans in general. So if any of your viewers are interested, they've only got to contact you, and you can forward their details.
Fantastic.
So or even comment on one of my videos. I get
Yeah,
notifications for those. They're very peaceful, non-intrusive interviews. It's about how, why, and when you became a football fan. Really, that's what
I
it's
can vouch.
about. You tell your story.
Yeah, I can vouch for that because I have been once interviewed by you as well, and
Yeah.
I thought I was treated respectfully. So I have to say it was a good
Mhm.
experience to be on your channel. So I can only
I
recommend it.
hope it. I hope it's that way for everybody. You see, because I mean, I've interviewed one person in particular earlier this year, Miss Hammerette. Her
Yeah,
handle is, and that's she's never done anything on camera before, and that's
this
my
Miss Hammer,
biggest.
this one.
No, 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 that's Happy Hammerette.
Ah,
Hi,
okay.
Happy. This is Miss Hammerette. She's also another active. She does moderating on some channels and stuff. But she'd never done any camera work before. And I interviewed her, and it's actually my biggest video views. It's gone over 1.6K views. Most of mine top out at around about 300. So
Who is this?
it's
Who is this Miss?
exceeded my expectations by tenfold.
Who is
It's
this mysterious
fantastic.
Miss Hammerette? I might as
Uh,
well invite her on
you'll,
my show.
you'll have, well, you could do indeed, and I'm sure she would be happy to do so. She's very well spoken. You should look at the interview on my
Well,
channel.
the biggest issue I have on this show is that I haven't had a single woman on the show, and I am bothered by that because it's been going on for more than 2 years. I've tried. I,
Hmm.
I really have. Yeah.
Well, I
Um,
mean, we can only
Sorry.
but try, can't we? Again, I'll ask one or two of the ladies that I know. And maybe you might even get one of the ladies I know over in the US to appear. You never know. We can only but ask, can't we?
It's not that
You know.
I'm only surrounded by blokes. That's not the case. Yeah, I've got a lot of
Hmm.
even female students. They're just not into football or Premier League you know,
In
in particular.
particular, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
Well, we'll have to see what we can do. We'll make some inquiries behind the
Exactly.
scenes.
So I'm glad that the chat is a bustling place today. It's a place where you can obviously leave any comments you want regarding this show or anything we're talking about. You can ask us questions as long as the comments are reasonable and respectful. I may even put them on screen, like the one from James, who says, "Good evening, people.
Yep, another
Welcome."
one of my good friends. So thank you for joining us, James. Um,
Fantastic,
and
fantastic.
and Happy Amaret as well. So that's two of my buddies in already.
Very, very good indeed. Okay, so let's dive into the show. So we've just finished the
Yep,
introductory part. And as you know, Clive, this show is well structured. It has got its own structure. And we are
yep.
going to kick off, pun intended, because this is a football show. We're going to kick off with this quick segment called Matches We Have Seen. So, would you like to start, Clive? Did you manage to see any other matches, bar
I
your team's match?
watched the game on Friday night. I watched the game on Friday night, which was remind me of it because I've seen two other
Yeah,
games.
I'm struggling. It was one of the newly promoted teams, wasn't it? Wasn't it
Yeah,
Sheffield? Sheffield United?
Sheffield United
Yeah.
and Leeds, wasn't it? Was it Leeds?
Wasn't it
Oh,
Nottingham Forest? I can't remember.
Nottingham Forest. Yes, it was Nottingham Forest.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Finished 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. Yeah, you're right. It was Nottingham Forest. And Sheffield United got their first Premier League goal ever. So that's, or was it their first Premier League goal in a certain amount of time? But anyway, they got their first goal on Friday. And I mean, I was over at the pub watching it. I was also playing darts. So I didn't see too much of the game. But from what I saw, it looked like a well fought game. Quite entertaining, good result. Couple of dodgy refereeing decisions. Other than that, really quite, just a standard Friday night game. Really quite exciting. And
I can't remember. I may have seen a few minutes, but it doesn't qualify for me to add it to
mm-hmm,
my list of games I saw this weekend, especially because I saw a lot
uh-huh,
of them in full. So
yeah.
carry on with yours then. Are there more matches on
Um,
the list?
on the Saturday, I have only seen highlights of the games. I have to be honest. On usual outlets, I won't name them, but I've watched a few of the highlights.
Yeah.
Nothing major, but obviously on Sunday I was in the London Stadium with
Ah,
62,500 people. It was a
yes.
fantastic atmosphere. It was a really, really nice atmosphere before the game. It was very positive.
Yeah.
A lot of people telling me that they're betting on like 2-1 wins and 3-1 wins and stuff.
Hang
A
on.
few people,
Which people were betting on those wins?
oh,
What,
West Ham fans,
Pake
West Ham,
was
West Ham
their
fans.
name? Was their names? Were their names something Pake something or?
No, 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 no. I know I don't have that many contacts at the club, although
Oh,
after the game I did get the opportunity to have a photograph with Frank McAvenny and Stuart Slater, two of my favourite players from in the past. You may
oh,
not know about them, but Frank McAvenny, I think most people that love football would know about him. He was an absolute revelation in Scotland. But yeah, that was nice to meet those guys and have a little chat with them. But the actual game itself in the stadium was just electric.
okay. So you saw these two games only then.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair enough because you've been invited mainly to talk about the West Ham game. But
Hmm.
let me just say the games I saw. So I watched the Man City Newcastle game.
Hmm.
That was an interesting game, I have to say. I quite enjoyed that, despite the result, which was a low scoring game. I
Hmm.
also saw the Liverpool Bournemouth game. Not
Okay.
exactly the most entertaining game. At least I was expecting a high scoring game. It didn't happen. Then I
Hmm.
saw Tottenham United as well, which was I actually went to see it with one of my new Vietnamese mates here because he's a United fan, and he invited
Okay.
me. I only saw the first half, and it was so bloody boring. And then I left. And then I left and watched the bits and pieces at home, and saw Tottenham um, smash United, which was weird.
Yeah.
And then West Ham Chelsea, of course, it was the best game of the whole round, in my opinion, or at least the outcome. Not just the outcome, just the sort of um, the
The
overall.
application.
yeah,
The
the overall,
application was fantastic.
yeah, it was just an exciting match, and so much happened in it, and it was just like
Mhm.
this would be a great advert for football. And then, of
Yeah.
course, tonight in about 2 hours, I will be watching one of my two teams that I support play. So currently I'm wearing this shirt. That's just to pay tribute, homage to your team. But of course, I
Mhm.
like watching West Ham, but also I'm an Arsenal fan. So
Yes.
Arsenal are playing Crystal Palace. So that might be
That's no
interesting.
easy game.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Selhurst
So
Park is probably one of the toughest stadiums to play in for an away
yeah,
team.
of course,
So
of course.
very, very close to the supporters and stuff. Very
Yep.
little space between the edge of the playing area and the
And
hoardings. It's
and
very
the
tight.
team is very unpredictable as well. So you never know with them.
Y- Yep,
They can really
yep.
surprise you.
And they've been doing so well under Roy Hodgson.
Mm,
As you said, they're very unpredictable, and they depends on what Crystal Palace come out, but they
yeah,
tend to come at you quite hard. So they're
exactly.
not going to be a pushover for your boys, I tell you.
Mm, absolutely not. Okay, let's do this one now.
Mm, okay.
So what do you think, Clive?
The biggest surprise for me was Tottenham beating Manchester United. I have to be honest.
Really?
I really felt that Man United had them pegged, if you want. I felt that Man United could match and better anything that Tottenham could produce. And I'm not just saying that because Tottenham and West Ham are always at loggerheads and considered bitter rivals. It's not for that reason. It's that Tottenham have lost their talisman, their greatest player, and possibly one of the greatest players in the Premier League. But he's gone, and I felt that it would shake Tottenham to the roots, and it
Are you
didn't.
talking? Are you talking about Harry Kane? Of course. Just to.
Yeah, I find it very difficult to get those words out.
Yeah,
But
I know. Me
yes,
too. Me
yeah,
too. I think we can agree on that.
yeah. But he has proven to be one of the greatest players in the Premier League. So for them to lose that impact in their squad, I thought it would rock them. I thought it would shake them to their roots, and it didn't. In fact, I
Sometimes.
think if anything, it
Yeah,
inspired them.
exactly. That's what happens sometimes. Right? The shackles are off. And I
Yeah.
think maybe something similar might be happening at West Ham, actually. So I can see
Well, funny you should say that. That was just running through my mind also. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, fantastic. So my surprise of the week won't be a surprise to you. It will be the Chelsea defeat by your team, West Ham United, because
Hmm.
I didn't see that one coming because I had seen the game against Tottenham and I thought Chelsea looked rejuvenated. They looked like a different team, and
Yeah.
the fans were behind them, and of course they have a young team, but a lot of talent in it, and also a very expensive team, right? Like full of new signings,
Yeah.
and I have to say,
And
like I
possibly one of the top 5 managers in the league
manage
also.
exactly. Pochettino is a great manager. So that was
He is.
that. I didn't see it coming, but it was written in stars, and let's have a look at it now. So Chelsea. So James says, I would love to be able to watch that whole Chelsea game. So I think he
Mm.
envies you that because you have been to the stadium and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Happy
Um,
Amaret was there also.
okay.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Football
that's
partners we are. You see, we meet up
yep,
and we
partners
kind of
in
go
crime.
go to the game.
Yep.
Mm.
So obviously you started the game really well, scoring
Yeah.
scoring a type of goal that I mean, who would have predicted that? You just got a new signing, James Ward-Prowse, who is the best set piece taker in the world. That this is something Guardiola himself claims,
Correct. Yep.
and,
Correct.
and he proved it after 6 minutes on the pitch. He took his
Hmm.
second corner and bent it in such a way that Aguerd, all he had to do was just jump high and
Hmm.
headed it in the bottom corner
But
pretty
if you
skillfully.
look back over the last 4 seasons, let's just say 4 seasons, if you could hear the commentaries from all of the games that West Ham have had televised, you will find a common denominator in all of those, that how good we are from a set piece. And
Yep.
now we've just, as you said, we have just picked up Pep Guardiola's choice for set piece taker in the world,
Yeah.
and we've inserted him into a team that already do this.
Hmm. And,
It's going to be successful. It's
and Clive,
going to be a successful move.
even if you are one of the people that maybe are not that knowledgeable about the Premier League, imagine you just heard about him, but you have never really seen
Hmm.
him play. Maybe you don't watch Southampton, or
Yeah,
Southampton never
yeah.
really set the world on fire in
I'm guilty of that. I thought that
recent years.
Ward
So
Prowse was just,
so you more like know of him. A lot of people would just
yeah,
know of him, and then, but
yeah.
you kind of have this in your head because you have heard it people say before that he's good at set pieces, and then I just all it takes is just 6 minutes, and then you see
Hmm.
that those two
And two
corners,
set piece goals against us.
and the both those corners were great, like the first one and this one,
Hmm.
and it's just you must all you can do is just basically admit
Admire
that
it.
admire it and admit that, yeah, okay, he knows what he's doing, yeah, and
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
he's gonna slot in really well into that Moist team, right?
Yeah, and and let's not forget that he got a second assist
That's
in open play. So I mean, my first impression of him when we were linked with him was, well, we don't just need a set piece taker, we need a player in that midfield that can cover at least half of the job that we're missing with
mm,
Declan Rice leaving.
yeah,
So he's doing that and more. He's giving us more than 50% of Declan Rice's role covered, more
yeah.
than 50%. And this other guy that we've just picked up, Edward, no, sorry,
Alvarez.
what is it?
Oh,
Edison Alvarez.
yeah.
He looks like he could be another over 50% fill in for what Declan did, but in the
Mm.
defensive
In a
section
different way.
of the job.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean, I think that in selling Declan Rice for such a huge amount of money and getting in two players for less than three-quarters of that money is very good business and very, very good for the club in
Mm.
the amount of football that they can play. You know,
Yeah.
I've looked at them other than when they played for West Ham. I've looked at video reels, all different kinds of video reels, and I'm actually quite happy that we've got them both.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, you've got a lot of players who are good at scoring goals from set pieces. Like, you've got some
Yeah.
excellent players at that. I know there was a spell last season when you were not doing that
Hmm.
well, but I think it was
Hmm.
down to a poor delivery rather than those players not scoring the chances. So
Quite
now
possibly. Quite
you
possibly.
your delivery will be amazing now. So, like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
I mean, the delivery wasn't exactly poor because it was the likes of Bowen and Benrahma and Lanzini previously that were delivering the balls, and they were never at a poor standard, but they weren't, they weren't platinum standard. They may have been
yeah
high silver or gold, but they were never platinum standard. And James Ward-Prowse seems to polish up every ball he puts in. It's
yeah
absolutely amazing. And as I said,
yeah.
his open play has been very good as well throughout the game
Mm.
for the 60 odd minutes that he played, 70 odd minutes
Yeah,
he
so
played.
basically that's how the game started. Yeah, so you
Mm-hmm.
were in the lead, then Chelsea managed to equalize, and let's be honest, they were dominating that first half. I think you were under the cosh, and
I believe so. Yeah.
yeah, so very defensive and lucky, of course, that because obviously Tomáš Souček made a foul in the box on the edge of the penalty box, and that led to a Chelsea penalty, which Chelsea missed. I believe it was Martinez. What was his name? The defender. Is his
I
name
think
Martinez?
it was more a case of they got a penalty that was saved by Areola.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a
He
great
didn't
save.
actually miss because it was on target, and
Yeah,
Areola made an absolutely perfect save, in my opinion.
Ariola,
Um,
who usually is not considered a great keeper to save penalties, like he actually
no. I
did
mean,
really well.
if you was to ask 90% of if you were to ask 90% of West Ham fans would probably say we want Fabianski in between the sticks for a penalty.
Okay.
But Areola has shown that he's got that in his book as well. So I think I think as a fan base, we can be a little bit more confident in his abilities between the sticks, you know.
And obviously, this was a decisive moment of the game, which we didn't
Yeah.
know at the time, but it proved to be, because then in the second half, I thought a different team came on the pitch, a different West Ham team, and a different Chelsea team as well. I was really, really disappointed by Chelsea as well, because like I didn't think that they would do that poorly. And then, of
Yeah.
course, as you said, James Ward-Prowse found Antonio, who, with an individual piece of brilliance, managed to find a bottom corner, and yeah, you were 2-1 up. That was a surprising moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think had it have been the penalty had been scored by Enzo Fernandez, yeah. Had he scored that, I think that the whole complexion of the game would have changed. I think we would have been on the back foot. We would have been very defensive. We would have been relying purely on Antonio's brutish force and speed up front. And I think we would have probably struggled to get anything from the game. But as it turned out, as you explained, Antonio found the bottom corner, and that put a whole new complexion on the game. It gave us the momentum. It put Chelsea on the back foot. And from that moment on, I believe Chelsea stopped working as a unit. I think they started working as individuals chasing the game. And I think that was a massive, massive error from Pochettino, because he should have stood on that from the moment it started happening. Do you know what I mean? He should have called on the players and said, right, get it together, stop playing as individuals. You know, and I think that's quite an important part of the match, because from them we were dominant, rampant even.
And you also played in a smart way. You were aware of the Chelsea strength, Chelsea's skill, and you knew that you couldn't open up the game. So I don't want to say parked the bus, but you certainly played in a defensive way.
No, we played a tight defence. That's what we did. That's what I like to call it. We played a tight defence, and all played their part in that. The midfield and the defenders, and even at some points you would find Mikel Antonio hovering around the 18-yard box, because it was a team effort. Like I said, we worked as a unit. Chelsea lacked that on yesterday.
Oh, you're totally right. I'm sure that
even when they were dominant, they lacked the cohesion of a team that have played together for a while. And let's put it right. I mean, 80% of our players that were out there yesterday have played together for more than a season. So,
that's right.
the new guys that came in were introduced one at a time, and showed what they can give us. Very, very pleasing. Very pleasing.
Absolutely. So you have mentioned the midfield, and I've got a question here from Happy Hammerhead. She's asking me what I make of rice. And then there's a reaction from James. Rice is delicious as Thai jasmine rice with a little coconut cream mixed through. I have to say, as someone who is currently living in Vietnam, I also have this dish quite often. So if you are asking me about the food, then I have to say I'm a big rice fan. If you're asking me about Declan Rice, then um,
Yeah.
don't know whether you mean Declan Rice in general, or are you asking me about Declan Rice as an Arsenal fan? So first of all, as
Well,
you know,
I think your views on Declan Rice as a West Ham player are
yeah,
quite public. You've actually, you've given him plaudits when he's earned them, and and maybe even criticised him when he hasn't been so good.
I
But
don't think I have. But
generally,
I,
you've been a Declan Rice fan as much as you have anyone else
I
in the
I
squad,
think what
really.
I had to do most of the time was actually to defend him because there were several guests on the show, non-West Ham fans, who would claim that they don't understand the hype, and then we would
Hmm.
have to defend him with Clive. We would have to say, hey, you don't see, I see him week in, week out, and he always puts in
Yeah,
these kind of performances yet. So
yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
I think
And
of all,
I think Arsenal fans will start to see our Declan Rice in probably 3 to 4 weeks when he's actually really uh, engraved himself in the culture at Arsenal. At the moment, it's very new to him. Um,
mm,
he's enjoying it, but then we all enjoy something new when we're on holiday, or the honeymoon period, as we like to call it, will
yeah,
end, and it'll
yeah,
end fairly rapidly and fairly abruptly in the Premier League, as we know.
yeah,
So let's hope that Declan Rice, by the time he's found his feet at Arsenal, let's hope that he's got as much support around him in the stands as what he had at West Ham. Without that, he won't be the player he was at West Ham.
yeah.
You know,
I
and
completely,
far be it for me, to let Arsenal enjoy him, because I don't want them to, but they should, because he's a wonderful player. And like I said, once he's established himself within the culture at Arsenal, you'll see a very different side to him. And the people that are critical of him, if they are Arsenal fans, they won't be critical for very long.
no,
I mean,
no, no.
at the moment he hasn't pulled any trees up or anything, but he will. He will. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he last game when he hit the post, he forced the save out of the keeper. These are the little things in Declan Rice's game that people see on highlights reels. It's
do you know
not the
what
stuff that you see where he's tracking back and stuff like that.
he had about three chances in that game, in that first game, and he played really well. In the preseason, he wasn't that good. Like I think he needs some bedding
Hmm.
in. And I said it. I called it that he would walk into any team, and I was right. And it's absolutely right for Arteta to start him, and it's also correct. It's correct to give him more
Yeah,
time. You have to be patient with him because he had a big role at West Ham, and it's not always easy. If your role is a
very.
little bit diminished, his role is smaller because there are so many good players at Arsenal. So he has to fight for that spotlight as well. And he's also playing a defensive midfielder in a very attacking team. So his role is very important, but I think it will show later. And as you said, there will be some getting used to the system, to the way Arteta wants to play. But I think we can already see some positive signs. And personally, I don't have any doubts about him, any doubts whatsoever that he will be a huge success at Arsenal because I have seen him play at West Ham, and I know the guy, and I know he's a good guy, and he will give his everything. So yeah, great signing for Arsenal, obviously. And
Yeah,
I
I'm
know you
sorry.
guys
My
are
my
sorry.
my Wi-Fi went.
Yeah, that's okay. We're a little bit frozen there. I know you guys are really sorry to see him go, and I know a lot of you are not very happy about the fact that he went to Arsenal because you wanted him to go to
Hmm.
City. Which I understand because Arsenal are your rival, and also I think historically there is not much there are not many chances to play against City anyway. So it doesn't really. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, right? It wouldn't make any difference. But
Well, personally, I didn't want him to go to City either. If I'm
okay,
completely honest with you,
where did you want
I
him to
didn't
go?
really. I didn't want him to go anywhere. If I'm actually being really honest, but
Yeah,
my preferred destination for him, I think, would have been Chelsea. purely and simply because he came through their youth system before he was 14, and then came through the West Ham youth system. He's a self-declared Chelsea fan. His best mate is Mason Mount, who incidentally has gone to Manchester United now. Maybe
Exactly.
that was one of the deciding factors in him
I
not choosing to go to Chelsea.
I think it's the Champions League is the biggest factor in my opinion, because Chelsea obviously did so badly last season that they didn't secure the
Yeah,
top four finish, and I think Declan wanted an upgrade. He might as well stay. He might have. He might as well have stayed at West Ham to play Europa League, but Chelsea, they are out of Europe this season, so
yeah,
why would
yeah,
he go there?
yeah.
I think he enjoyed that, lifting that cup as the captain. So I think he would not go to
It
Chelsea.
was,
Yeah,
it will stay with him for the rest of his life. That's a memory that nobody can ever take away from him. He lifted his first trophy. He lifted the club's first trophy in 47 years or whatever it was,
yeah, as a captain
as a captain. And, he,
in his last match.
he led by example. He led by example during that tournament, you
Yeah,
know, very professional, even though he was aware of Arsenal's, um, you know, interest in him and stuff. He was very professional, and whenever he was questioned, he was always, "No, I'm a West Ham player," and even there was a viral video of him, that young child. Where would you like to play? He's like, "No, I want to play at West Ham. I'm a West Ham player." The
mm.
kid was, I think, asking him if he wanted to go to Arsenal, but he was very professional about it.
He
Um,
knows. He knows. He can speak. He's really good with media as well, and he's a
yeah,
smart.
yeah,
He's a smart guy, and that will definitely stand him in a good stead at Arsenal as
mm,
well. And
yeah,
I'm sure he will be a great success there, and he will win some trophies. And yeah, I couldn't be happier as an Arsenal fan. It saddens me as a West Ham fan, but it's a win-win for
yeah,
me. Whether he stays at West Ham or goes to Arsenal. So
yeah, yeah.
anyway, Clive, I have
Yes.
to ask you about one young man.
Okay.
His name is Paqueta or Paqueta.
Paqueta, Paqueta. That's how he
Ah,
says it.
what the hell happened? So he was supposed to go to Chelsea, and then this deal fell through. It was almost a done deal, and then suddenly we are hearing
Man
that
City, you mean?
Man City. Did
Man
I say
City, you
Man?
mean?
I did say Man
You
City,
said
didn't I?
Chelsea. No, you said
Really?
Chelsea.
Okay, okay. Man
Yeah, yeah.
City. He
Mm,
was supposed to go to Man
okay.
Man City, and the
Yeah,
deal
nailed on.
the deal didn't happen, even though it was supposed to be for a lot of money. Of course, you didn't want to see him go, but then Moyes said in one of the press conferences that his head had been turned and all that. And then suddenly, out of
Yeah.
nowhere, they published something in the Daily Mail, I believe, that he's being investigated for a betting scandal, that his entire family in Brazil bet on Paqueta's matches. And apparently, one of the things they said there was that he even got a yellow on purpose so that they would win those bets. So that is a very,
Okay.
very serious allegation.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I want to
yeah.
know,
Very
first of
serious
all,
allegation,
yeah,
but some of the information that I've seen states now. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm
yeah,
not a part of the circle that would be investigating this by any stretch.
mm,
But some of the information that I've seen states that yes, there was a, a question mark about him being sent off because or no, sorry, but him being yellow carded because this was on the betting slip, but
yeah,
also on the same betting slip that there was another player who was playing in Brazil also had to get a yellow card and he
yeah.
didn't. So I think there's a lot to be looked at. There's a by
But
this is
don't you?
by no means
But Clive,
um, innocent, but how far his involvement goes must be established. And
you're right.
until then, innocent until proven guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty. I completely agree with you. However, I would say, I would use this lovely phrase, there is no smoke without fire. And I think it would be
Mm.
such a big risk for someone to release such a slur. What do you call it? Slur or like gossip.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it would be, it's something that you could be sued for, in my opinion, because it might have destroyed
Yeah.
his career. So I don't,
Hmm.
there must be something about it. I cannot imagine that someone, you can't just make something up without, like you can, I
Hmm.
guess you're living in such world that you can do that, but
Yeah. Um,
this has gone a bit too far, right? Because this transfer was basically cancelled by that, and
yeah, yeah. But I mean, throughout the whole of it, Lucas Paquetá has been professional.
mm,
He's stated that even though his head was turned by Man City, that he would
yeah,
carry on training, he would carry on playing in the claret and blue shirt,
yeah,
and that he would carry on respecting his, the team of coaches, manager, etc.,
yeah,
until such time as the paperwork had been signed and he was given permission to talk to the club
mm,
or whatever the case may be.
yeah,
He hasn't been given permission to talk to the club
mm,
because this investigation now has come into place. Now, this could be somebody connected to maybe West Ham that doesn't want that deal to go through. It could be somebody that's got a grudge against Manchester City or West Ham United. It could be somebody at Manchester City that doesn't want him there, that's released. It could be a number of things. It could just be somebody that he refused an autograph to or an interview to.
come on,
So all of this, but all of this has got to be looked into, Zenek. I mean, there may not be any smoke without fire,
yeah,
but I don't see any flames, and I
yeah,
don't see him hiding away.
mm,
I don't see the West Ham media team or whatever you call them protecting him, smothering him, banning him from games or stopping him from playing or training or anything like that. I see
mm,
full support from the club.
yeah,
I see full support from everybody associated with the club,
mm,
and the FA have said, basically this will be investigated, or
mm,
UEFA, whoever it is, FIFA, whatever,
yeah, yeah.
will investigate it, and it may take some time. In the meantime, he's innocent until proven guilty,
That
so
makes sense.
he will carry on doing his
But
professional job.
you, you're saying as if nothing changes, but a lot has changed. So he's not going to City. So that's kind of a blessing in disguise for you because he's an excellent player and you would really miss him a lot, in my opinion. He has
Yeah,
become an integral part of your team, and I don't think you could replace him with anyone, especially because you've been so slow with the transfers and you wouldn't be able to
yeah,
find anyone like that. So
yeah.
that's
I
a
mean, and let's be
counter.
honest, his assist won us the Europa Conference League final.
Yeah.
His ball to Bowen was inch perfect, weighted perfectly,
Hmm.
and it was instantaneous. He didn't think about that. He just did it,
Yeah.
in a typical Brazilian style, if you like, to be fair. And it was beautiful to watch. So that's the kind of stuff. I mean, the assist that he had for two of Skamaka's goals, perfect, absolutely beautiful ball through. And I mean, he has improved so much over the season that a lot of us, me included, look at him like he's our new. I hate to say his name, but he's our new uh, uh, Dimitri Payet, if you prefer, or like a Carlos Tevez. No, not so much Carlos Tevez, but like this real artistic player that can produce from nothing. Almost
Payet,
a magician, if you like, a Merlin
Dmitry
figure.
Payet, someone like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Mm.
Scott Parker was another one that could produce magic from nothing. You know,
Out of thin air. Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're right. So now the question is, because of course we know the story of Ivan Toney, who was banned for about half of the
eight
season.
8 months. Yeah,
8 months, yeah. So that's a long,
8 months.
long time. And he admitted to the crime or to the offense. And so the question is, what's going to happen here? I have no idea, but it's something that came out of nowhere, right? Out of the blue. Well, what would be the best outcome for you then? Of course, obviously, the best outcome would be that he stays at West Ham and he is found innocent. But Is that something that you expect to happen?
Right. In an ideal world, he stays at West Ham for this season, um, and he's vindicated that, as you say, he's found innocent. He stays at West Ham for the season. He helps us to win the Europa League and gets us into the Champions League and wants to stay. That's what happens in an ideal world.
Hmm.
Realistically, January's gone to
Yeah,
City.
but you mean gone to prison or gone to another club?
City. Gone to City. He's found innocent. He's vindicated of all
Yeah.
of these accusations. And in January, he goes to City.
Or he
That's
could be.
realistic.
What if he was found guilty and
Mhm.
West Ham, knowing what sort of player he is and how good he is, they stand by him. They say, okay, we will support you, we will pay you the wages, but you have to promise that you will stay at the club for a long time. Would that be a good deal to make?
Even if he's found guilty, you mean? Or
Yeah.
if he's found guilty of
If
these
he's
charges?
guilty, let's say gets I
Okay.
don't know, like 8
Okay.
months or 10 months, like Tony.
Well, look, if it's a fact that he's deliberately getting yellow cards to aid a betting syndicate or whatever you want to call it,
Mafia.
then then he should be banned for life. Banned for life. There should be no middle ground. As much as I love him and as much as I would miss him at West Ham and also at the World Cups, he should be banned for life. And
That
same
sounds
with
harsh.
Ivan. But the thing is, we're talking about billions of dollars potentially
What if,
billions of dollars.
Clive, what if mafia can do so many things. What if someone forced him to do it? Let's say, you don't know. Like, there could be so many options here.
If that
So
was proven, then obviously, then the circumstances would change. But if it's found that he is guilty of it by not by association but by organisation, if you like, then sorry, the harshest possible for me. As
yeah,
much as I do like the guy, and I think he's a really, really nice, genuine man. He's a family man. He's got children. But then so did Al Capone. So
yeah, that's
what can you say? What can you say? I hope he's vindicated. I really do, because from what we see of him, absolutely a top class footballer
world
and
class. Mm.
a world class footballer and a world class person. To me, he's a top guy. So I hope he's found not guilty.
Yep.
Excuse me.
All right. So I also
Yeah.
want to ask you, of course, quick question about West Ham. So 4 points
Yeah.
out of 6 possible. Not
Yeah.
probably in the way you expected it to happen. I thought maybe West Ham fans were hoping for 3 points against
Last week.
Bournemouth, but it was
Yeah.
it happened the other way around. You got 3 points against Chelsea, which I think must feel even better. So
It feels like a tournament win when you play against a team like Chelsea, who are notorious winners. Okay, last season you can kind of discount that, really and truly. I mean, they had almost as many managers as they did players last season, so you can kind of discount the fact that they weren't at the races even.
Yeah.
But they are serial winners. They've won the Champions League a few times. They've won the Premier League a few times. They've won the World Club Cup. So this is a club of serial winning, tournaments and stuff. So for us to beat them, it feels like a tournament win, because, look at the value of their team compared to the value of our team.
Yeah, or anyone else's team.
Or anyone else's. Or in City have got a very close valuation, I would think. Even if they were bought for less money, when Pep Guardiola gets hold of them, he doubles their value instantly anyway. And that's just a known fact. It's almost like, being touched on the hand by Midas. It really is. At the moment, Manchester City and Pep Guardiola are almost a license to print your own money. To be fair, it's a bit like owning a Mercedes dealership in this country.
Yeah. So your next game obviously is at the IMAX Stadium against Brighton, who are currently sitting at the top of the league, and well deserved, because I believe they won their first
They've
two
been
games
superb.
4-1. And I don't know. I don't have enough words of praises for this team. It's amazing how they.
I'm going to the game.
You are.
I'm going to be in the stadium. Yes.
Beware of the seagulls when you're eating your lunch or something.
The seagulls.
Let it get taken
That's
away.
why I'm taking a tennis racket.
I thought
rid of them.
I thought you would have a hammer too.
Not allowed hammers. They're a dangerous weapon. I'm going to the stadium. Actually, it's my first away game for many years. Yeah, I haven't. I've been to the London Stadium probably, I don't know, 30, 25 times now, 30 times even, including one game for the UNICEF Soccer Aid game. I went to that there as well. But this will be my first experience out of the away game, and also my first experience of the stadium that is 20 minutes drive from my house. It's more local to me than West Ham.
Yeah. You live closer to that stadium.
To Brighton. Yeah. I'm 25 or 28 miles, something like that. It's not far. It's a 20-25 minute drive.
That's great. So good luck there, of course. Fingers crossed. It will be tough because historically you don't do really well against Brighton in the recent years.
And we now have undoubtedly one of our best centre defenders in jail, effectively. He can't play, Nafagued. So, we've lost him now for a number of games.
Jail, that's an overstatement.
Very much an overstatement, but metaphorically speaking,
because in the
he,
context of what we have been talking about, I actually for a second I was like, what did he do?
Oh yes, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, that I should have made a better analogy.
What's wrong with your team, Clive? What's wrong with your team? Or criminals or something?
Yeah, it is West Ham, isn't it? In it, bruv. Yeah, but that'll please James in the chat. That will in it. He loves saying it. He loves to do it and then giggle. So yeah, I think that providing we go to Brighton with a similar positive attitude to the way we approached Chelsea yesterday, we stand a very good chance of getting a result. Now, should that result be 1 or 3 points, I'd be happy with either. We rarely get away with 3 points, and we've never beaten them in the Premier League, actually. We've had draws from them, and we've had very close to wins, and, those have been turned into draws in dying moments. But
make sure. I believe the players are going by bus. Yeah, I think. Sorry, I interrupted.
I do believe. No, it's fine.
I do believe they are. Make sure you really park that bus properly. It's not
That's a really good point.
You're not gonna fly or something. Yeah? So,
no. But the thing with David Moyes is that I think he's learned a few lessons from our campaign last season. How well we did in Europe and how very badly we did in the Premier League. I would struggle to find, if I could speak to everybody that was in that stadium yesterday, for example, I would struggle to find 5 people that were happy with our Premier League performances last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to do more with that. Now, he's learned a lot from our experiences last season. He's now starting Areola in goal for the Premier League. Now, he was undoubtedly, the best goalkeeper in Europe last season, not just in the Europa Conference League, but in Europe. I don't know how many goals he conceded, but I think it was the lowest number. I'm reasonably confident that it was the lowest number. And we went through the whole tournament unbeaten because he was between the sticks and because of our defence. Now we need to replicate that in the Premier League, and the way you do that is by using those personnel in the Premier League instead of in the Europa Conference League. And I think David Moyes has learned these lessons. I think the most consistent centre back we had throughout the whole season last season was Kurt Zouma, and well, surprisingly, he went through a large portion of the season without injury. Unknown
he's
for Kurt Zouma.
Unknown
for him. So for him to be able to play, I think it was over 3/4 of the games that he was asked to play or that he was available for. Yeah. For him to be able to do that is a testament to the backroom staff and the diet that they're on and the training regime and the recovery procedures and stuff from injuries and from games and stuff. So, Kurt Zouma was consistently one of our best defenders last season, along with Nafi Gued, during the latter part.
Who's now in jail. A lot of
he's in metaphoric jail. He's been banned for, I think, 3 games now.
Even Kurt Zouma isn't exactly innocent. Kicking his no. Recording it
allegedly.
It was recorded on a video. Come on, everybody knew that. Everybody saw that. Anyway,
Clive, and he was wearing a lion on his shirt when he did it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Let's talk about. Let's just quickly, briefly go over our heroes and villains of the week.
Okay, cool.
Right, Clive. My hero of the week is. Okay, I'm going to ask you first.
Okay, my hero of the week is James Ward-Prowse.
Okay.
I think he had an excellent debut. I think his delivery of the ball was exceptional. He proved why he was worth 35, 40 million pounds. He's proved me wrong. I was the doubter. I didn't know if he was going to be good enough for us. He's proven that he is in the minutes that he's had so far. I'm happy with him. And he got himself 2 assists in his debut. No mean feat.
Absolutely not. My hero of the week, I don't want to be boring and give it to David Moyes, even though I did consider it because I thought it was his masterclass.
It was.
I'm going to give it to Kaoru Mitoma because I thought he scored an absolute cracker. It was like a dribbling kind of goal. Guys, if you haven't seen the goal that Mitoma scored for Brighton, go and check it out.
Check it out.
It's wow.
I mean, it's very difficult to actually not give him your hero of the week on a regular basis because he is consistently good at what he does.
His goal, it reminded me of that solo goal by Son. Yeah, it was just whoa, what a goal. Check it out, guys. What a goal that is. So
it was almost Sergio Aguero-esque. It was almost as good as anything that Sergio Aguero's done. It was fantastic. Really was fantastic.
Exactly. So let's carry on. Okay, for me, it's Moises I can't even name.
Caicedo.
Moises Caicedo, the most expensive player. Now, maybe this is part of the problem because if you become the most expensive player of all time in the Premier League, then it does put a lot of pressure on you. I think that's probably what happened. He also must feel a little bit guilty for not going to Liverpool, which already seemed a done deal. He went to Chelsea instead, and that was not a good debut from him at all. He was really awful in that game.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's quite a good shout. Although it's not my villain of the week, but that's a good shout. I'll more or less go along with that. Yeah. But do you want to know who mine is?
Yep.
Mine's Eric Ten Hag. Because he's had the potential to absolutely destroy Tottenham at the weekend with the players that he's brought in, the players that he fielded. and his tactics lacked drive. His tactics lacked application, and he didn't get on it quick enough, and therefore he lost that game himself, in my opinion. You know, and I mean, I've seen the highlights from it, and extended highlights. You know, the Sky Sports extended highlights, and you know, I'm sorry, Ten Hag was almost at his wit's end, not knowing what to do. Tottenham overran them throughout the whole game.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say that Tottenham are a much better team in that game, and by a mile. So yeah, I think it's a good choice as well. And yeah, so let's have a look. Let's have a quick look at our favorite segment. I don't know if it's our favorite segment, but it's definitely a little bit different from everything else we do here, and it's the FPL. So the FPL, the Fantasy Premier League, which is a fun game that you guys can play as well if you want to join the, what's it called?
The Premier League app.
The Premier Corner. I don't even know what it's called anymore. It must be named after this show. Basically, I've got a mini league that you guys can join, and there's a link in the description of the video. Yeah. And
it's called the Premier Corner.
The Premier Corner. Okay, I named it after the show, and I'm still. It's a new name. The show has a new name, so I'm still not used to it completely, and I'm struggling.
Yeah. It's got the emoji of the football either end of the Premier Corner.
You wanted to, like embellish it a little bit. So, can you guys see what I see? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
I think they can. So there you have it. After 2 rounds, I am in the 4th place, which is nothing to be sniffed at. Personally, I didn't expect to be so high up so early. So
I've dropped down to 15th.
But look at Noop. Noop had an amazing first round. Now he only has 37 points, but I think we both have some Arsenal players. A lot of us will have some Arsenal players, so that we will see what happens there. Yeah. You dropped down to 15th place, I see.
Yeah. I think I was 13th before.
Okay. Well, it's early days, so it's about this game is all about consistency. So 1 or 2 bad game weeks don't have to mean much. So I'm quite curious as to what's going to happen next. I can show you my team. I've got Onana in goal. This is for the 3rd game week, yeah? So Onana in goal, Chilwell, Henry, Estupiñán, White. I have recently got White because I had to sell Reece James, because he's injured. So I wanted to triple up on Chelsea, but I decided to go for White instead. I can't pronounce his name. Mbeumo.
Mbeumo.
I can't say.
Mbeumo.
Mbeumo.
Yeah, that'll do. That's close. Okay. It's like it's almost said Mbappe. With a W between the B and the U, so it's Mbeumo.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like Mbappe a little bit. Yeah. The consolation. Yeah. The mitigating factor here is that I'm an English teacher, and that doesn't mean I'm being an English teacher doesn't mean I can pronounce all footballers' names, especially if they have a foreign sounding name like Mbeumo Das. So that's a mouthful. That's a mouthful for me.
Let's call him Brian, because that's his name, Brian Mbeumo.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Saka. We've got Saka, Odegaard. Of course, they're still in my game week 2 selection, so I'm still hoping for some points from them, and hopefully they don't get injured in that game as well. I've got Rashford, but so far Rashford has been my weakest link, actually. And then I've got Jackson of Chelsea. I'm hoping that he might get a hat trick against Luton. I think that's a good idea to start him. And then, of course, who
Yeah.
doesn't have Haaland in their team? Of course, I'm
Yeah, of
captaining him.
course.
Yeah.
Of course. I think most people do.
And this is my bench: João Pedro, Soboslai, and Botman, and Matt Turner. Do you want to have a look at your team quickly to see who you have?
Go for it.
All right. So
Go for
I
it,
need
mate.
to find your team through my league.
So, I see. Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the team that I've got for this coming week or for the past week?
I don't know.
It'll be the past week.
Whatever it is going to show me, but I can see your name.
Okay.
Your team's name is Budgie's Babes.
Yep. That's
Good
it.
name. Good name. So this is. I don't think it's going to show me your. I don't think it's going to show me your current selection, but at least we will see, like, more or less who you have in your team.
No. This is my selection from last Tuesday. From last week. Sorry, I've only changed it today because, as you can see, Nav Aguerd is now banned.
Yeah.
So I've replaced him with my free transfer.
I can see that. Yes. Okay. Well, oh my goodness! Look at your bench. Look how many points you could have had if your bench had played.
I know. Yeah, I mean, if I'd have used bench boost, I probably would have been better off.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, as you can see, I've got David Raya as my second goalkeeper, and he hasn't played any part yet. So I'm hoping. Well, I will change him probably next week because he's not going to get in front of Ramsdale, is he?
No, probably not. But Arteta, Arteta, he can be quite ruthless. So if Ramsdale has a few poor performances, he will give Raya a chance, and I'm sure he will play in the Champions League at least. So you never know what could happen.
Yeah, but they don't help my Premier League team. Champions League doesn't help.
Anyway, guys, feel free to join the league if you're not there yet, to make this even more competitive for us. And I guess that's where we will say goodbye, Clive.
Okay, buddy. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for coming on again and telling us about this wonderful performance by your team, West Ham United. And I'm very pleased with that.
Fantastic performance from the crowd as well.
Absolutely.
We've heard. I was a very small part of it, but we've heard no stories of any horror stories of any kind between any of the opposing supporters or anything like that. So that's good to know. Everybody behaved well, and we took 3 points from potentially one of the toughest teams we're going to face this season.
Fantastic. I apologize to Happy Hammerhead if the screen was blurry. I think it must have been when we were looking at the FPL teams, our FPL teams. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why that is.
If it's mine that's blurry, is mine blurry?
I don't think. I think she was probably referring to the Fantasy League. But anyway, thank you, Happy Hammerhead, for your contributions in the chat as well. It's been wonderful to have you here. And thanks, guys. Don't forget, you can give this show a like to support the channel, and of course, subscribe to the Greenstreet Elites as well. And good luck against Brighton, Clive. And who knows? Maybe we'll have you here on again next week.
Well, you never know. Hopefully, I think I'm available next Monday. The following Monday, I'm busy, but I think I'm available. So we'll check up in the week. And
fantastic.
I'll see. Hopefully, we'll have maybe a Chelsea guest on next week.
It's really hard for me to get any Chelsea guests on. It's been notoriously hard. I wonder why. I wonder why. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
No problem. Absolute pleasure.
And thank you, Clive, for being here. And this is not the end of the show. I'm going to say goodbye to you, but I will be explaining some vocabulary from our wonderful chat here as well. That's because this show is aimed at English learners. And
Okay.
that's that. All right, so here we are. This part of the show is called the Language Corner, and that's where I will be going through several phrases, mostly something that Clive used because, as we know, he has a very nice way of talking. He is very eloquent whenever he speaks English, and so there's always a lot of linguistic material to look at and a lot of stuff to learn from. I don't know. Can't remember the player that Clive was referring to. I really can't because I think it was one of the older players. But that's not the point. The point is that Clive used this phrase. He was an absolute revelation in Scotland. So if someone is a revelation, in this context, it means, I guess, it means somebody that reveals it himself in a sense of a massive surprise. Like nobody expected that to happen. If you're a revelation, you're like, whoa, where did this guy come from? And it suddenly is you are this surprising player that sets the world on fire, that really hits the ground running, as we say, and starts playing really well. So that would be a revelation. And Clive is telling us here that his name is Frank McEvany. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but yeah. So that was that. And moving on. I can't remember the context here, but there was a nice word used by Clive. Clive said they are not going to be pushovers for your boys. They're not going to be. Oh yeah, I remember now. So we were talking about Arsenal, so that's why he says your boys means my team, Arsenal, and they means Crystal Palace, team. They're not going to be pushovers, which means they're not going to be easy to beat. If you are a pushover, you're someone that is easy to be pushed over, right? Someone who is vulnerable or weak. And that means that if you are not a pushover, that means you are strong enough to resist any sort of bullying, right? So they're not going to be pushovers, which means in this sense that Crystal Palace players will be good and not easy to beat. Right. And moving on, Tottenham and West Ham. Sorry, I'll have to fix my spelling here. So, again, I have simplified this phrase. I have simplified it. But basically, West Ham at one point, Clive at one point said that Tottenham and West Ham are always at loggerheads. So that's a very, very specific phrase. And if you are at loggerheads with someone, I believe that means that you are always arguing or you are always in clash. You don't exactly see eye to eye. Yeah. So you are in that constant sort of animosity almost. Well, basically, Tottenham and West Ham are huge rivals. Right? It's similar to Arsenal and Spurs. So if you're at loggerheads with someone, I believe it means you are in a constant argument with someone, or you just don't agree with someone on something. Right. Okay. And then this one is an interesting phrase. Had Martinez scored that penalty, the whole complexion of the game would have changed. So the word complexion, I believe, means the color of your skin, I believe. Yeah, that's the first meaning. However, it is used in a metaphorical sense as well. In this context, it means so imagine the game is played in a certain way. Let's say Chelsea were dominating. Yeah, Chelsea were dominating, and then Martinez scored. I wanted to say had Martinez. That doesn't. Oh yeah, if he had scored, the game would have looked different. That's what Clive is suggesting. So the complexion of the game means basically the way the game is played. Yeah, so it's like imagine like it's a metaphor. Yeah, so I said complexion is like the color of your face. So the your face can have a different color. So just like a game can be played in a different way, right? Um, and that's it. Enzo Fernandez. It wasn't Martinez. Yeah, it was Enzo Fernandez. Sorry. So, never mind. The penalty taker, basically. The point is, we are explaining some vocabulary here. So complexion, the whole complexion of the game. Right. That this is a wonderful idiom. I said idiom, by the way, not idiot. Idiom is a phrase in a language that when you look at the phrase, the individual words in that phrase may have different meaning from the entire phrase. The entire phrase means something else. So at the moment, he hasn't pulled any trees now, but he will. So I believe we were referring to Declan Rice. And if you say someone hasn't pulled any trees, that means that person hasn't really done anything yet, hasn't really done anything mm, commendable yet. Yeah, hasn't really showed his potential yet. So it's a very nice little phrase. If you haven't pulled out any trees, it's kind of an euphemism, isn't it? Like an understatement. And a similar one would be he hasn't set the world on fire yet. He hasn't exactly set the world on fire. I think it's a very similar phrase. So I like this one. Obviously, it's not about literally pulling out trees because I don't think that's in the description of Declan Rice's job. I don't think he is a lumberjack or whoever does this job. Okay, he is a footballer as far as I know. Paqueta not going to City is a blessing in disguise. This is something I said. So that is a nice phrase as well. Blessing is, I believe, it's a word used from religion. I'm not gonna go into that because I might dig myself into a hole. I will just explain the meaning on the whole as such. So something that is blessing in disguise is basically a positive thing, even though it may have not looked as a positive thing at first. That's why it's in disguise. So it's kind of it doesn't appear like that at first. At first glance, it looks like it's a bad thing. Paqueta goes to Manchester City, right? It's a bad thing because West Ham would lose an excellent player. However, it's a blessing, right? So that probably it could be a good thing for West Ham. Okay, so then we have got this phrase: Chelsea weren't at races. I don't know if were we referring to. I think we were referring to the previous season actually, and we were basically saying that Chelsea were really really poor last season, and at some point Clive said that they weren't at the races. That's an interesting phrase. If you are not at the races, it means you just really 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 bad. You're just putting in bad performances. You're just not showing your true potential. You're just below par. You are awful. You're not at the races. You're not participating the game, or almost like I think that's what it means. I think isn't that a reference from horse racing? If you're not at the race, it means like you are there, but you are not there. You're not like it's as if they were not even there at the race, right? You know what I mean? Again, it's a metaphor. And this one, so I believe Clive was talking about what's his name? Obviously Pep Guardiola, and he was saying that the value of players that join Manchester City doubles because of Guardiola, because of the way he plays, because of the way he trains, and the way he's able to get the best out of the players. So it's like being touched by the hand of Midas. So I'm not. I can't tell you exactly who this was, but I believe it's someone from Greek mythology. And the hand of Midas, something from Greek mythology. it's probably some kind of god that when that god touched you with his hand, then whatever he touched turned into gold. I'm not sure 100%, but I think that's more or less how the story goes. If not, then please correct me in the chat. Basically, the point is, it's like being touched. It's like being touched by the hand of Midas. It's like a phrase. It's a very specific phrase. It means basically that someone is able to double the value of something, right? Because of, in this case, of his wonderful skills. It could be used in the financial world, I guess, as well. Okay, we've got a few left here. So this one, we went through the whole season unbeaten because he was between the sticks. So Clive was talking about Alphonse Areola, and very, very nice phrase. Between the sticks means in the goal. Yeah, so he's a goalkeeper. He is between the sticks. So kind of it's the posts, right? It's the post and the bar. That's what you call the goal, or that's what the goal is made of. Let's say, and I think it's used as a phrase to be between the sticks. It's very nice as well. Okay. Then a very useful phrase, which I don't use personally much, but I would like to start using it. That's a good shout. I think Clive was he was agreeing with my choice of my hero of the week, Mitoma, and he said, "Oh, that's a good shout." It means like that's a good choice, and I would go along with that. Meaning, I agree with that. So if you go along with something, it means you agree with something. So that is a very, very nice phrase that can be absolutely used outside football as well. So feel free to use it freely. And yeah, and the last one, Ten Hag was almost at his wit's end. Wit is like your, I don't know, like your the ability to think, I guess. The Yeah, when you make a witty remark, you make funny remark as well. So it's kind of like funny and using your brain, let's say smart and funny. And if you're at your wit's end, it has a negative meaning. It means you have no clue what to do. You're like absolutely clueless. It's like you're at the last possible. You're like you're clutching at straws would be another idiom. Yeah. So you just you have run out of ideas of what to do would be a good way of putting it, basically. So he was at his wit's end. Hopefully you guys are not at your wit's end right now. And thank you for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed this last bit, the language corner. That's for you, English learners. If you know someone who's learning English and you want them to learn in a fun way, why don't you recommend my channel to them? As long as they like football. But it's not all about football here. However, it is part of it too. Thank you very much for watching, guys. And we will see if I do this next week. But so far, so good. I'm enjoying myself. So why the hell not? See you later, guys. Take care. Bye bye.